we'll see module 6, which is kind of more like defining users, creating roles, how to assign roles, security, so different security aspects, and also different administration tasks within SAC, how to do them. So these topics we will see in module 6. Go to module 6. Yeah, so throughout the sessions, I think frequently, some of you were asking how to share the stories, how to define roles, how to kind of control the access. So this is the topic which does that. So basically here in this module, we will see how to define roles, users, teams, and security. Regular disclaimer: what is the agenda? We have a very kind of extensive agenda for this topic. First, we will see what are roles, users, users, roles, and teams. Then how to import users to your SAC system, or how to create users. Then we will see what are the roles and permissions that are available. Then what is teams in SAC. Then we will use the users page to create users. Then create teams. Similarly, use the teams page to create teams. Then how to modify users. For example, you have certain users and you want to modify them. We'll see how to modify. Then assigning roles to teams. Then role and access management. Then control accessing to stories, in case if you want to control access to stories or models. We'll see that. Then we'll see what is workspace. Then how to define data security constraints within SAC. Then license that are available within SAC. Then let's see, then we'll see some technical and administration overview within SAC. Okay, so users, roles, and teams. So SAP Analytics Cloud uses user management and authentication mechanism to provide SAP Cloud identity management. Basically, in SAC, you have different modules where you can control users and roles. It provides basic user management to create, delete, and change roles assignment. So in case if you want to do this crude operations, create, delete, read, update, within SAC you have the interface. Then it is also possible to import user data and export user data to a CSV file. So this will help us to synchronize users with other systems, and also you can use maintenance with respect to batching, and also you can use schedule jobs and run them batch wise. So in case if you already have a user management system, like for example many companies use cloud management system like Microsoft Azure, Active Directory, or Google Cloud and other platforms, or you have other systems like Business Warehouse, or you have any database system, and you want to still make sure that all these systems have to be in sync with respect to user creation and user management. Then you can export and import user data from that corresponding system and upload to SAC also. Then likewise you can do from SAC also. From SAC you can export user data and import to the other system and create users. And this helps us to maintain synchronous, so that when a user, for example in a company, when a user is created, when he joins the company, he will be able to log into SAC, log into the data source without any issues. This will happen seamlessly. All the systems you can make it sync. So that is the main advantage why we need to sync different system with respect to user management. So also you should exercise caution when you are exporting CSV, because in certain regions like Europe and other continents, there is GDPR rules which doesn't allow you to freely expose the data, or use the confidential data. You need to take necessary permissions with respect to the organization and local entities which are government agencies, before you can expose or validate or use the user's personal data. So such restrictions will always be there. So you should make sure you follow or stick to the local guidelines. Then coming next one is like we can customers can also replace the default identity provider. Basically, the default identity provider is SAP Cloud Platform, SAP BTP. So SAP has its own cloud platform. So by default, if you would have seen while you are logging, you log into the cloud identity provider within SAP platform. So you will see the cloud login page in the beginning. Then you will give the authentication. Then from the cloud login page, you will be redirected to SAC. So all the cloud applications are interlinked with this SAP Cloud Platform. So in case in your organization you don't want to use SAP Cloud Platform, you have your own identity providers like Microsoft Azure, Active Directory. So in such cases, you can disable the default one, and you kind of enable your own custom identity provider. So in SAC, this is how the user screen looks. So in case if you would have seen, we have like three lines, horizontal lines, which is a navigation bar. If you click on that, you will have security. Under that, you will have users. So by default, in our example, the user management is disabled because of trial account. But generally, in your if you buy a SAC system and if you want to kind of maintain it for your organization, this is the fields which will be there. So in the security users, you will have user ID, first name, last name, then display name, then email ID, then manager, then roles, then licenses. So we will see one by one what is these fields and what is the significance of each field. So yeah, user ID, right? This is a unique ID which has to be there. So it can be either email ID or you can use some other code. Like some organizations will have their own hexa code. I mean, like some 10-digit code or 8-digit code generated. So it depends on different organization to organization. So that is a unique user ID which will help us to easily identify the user. So that is the user ID. Directly enter the user ID and additional information. So in case if you want to create a new user, you click on this plus icon here and you can directly enter the user ID. For example, if you see here, A30 is the last user. So next user can be onboarded with the A31 ID. So we'll give A31. Then we need to give first name and last name. So always you should remember that once a user ID is created, it cannot be changed because it is a unique constraint. And also all the elements whichever has been created with that user ID will be associated with this user ID. So you should be experiencing little caution while creating user IDs. So you should make sure that you give the correct format and then only save it. Until you save it, you can make any changes, but once you save it, it's there created. Then yeah, we have the display name. So basically display name will be combination either user ID or first name or last name. You can select whichever wants to be shown. So display name will be used throughout the SAP Analytics Cloud where a username need to be displayed. For example, if you see your home screen, you would see it will tell hello Rajni, hello Ashish, hello Pavan. So basically display name is the one it is being displayed. So whenever you want to use kind of an interactive way to connect with your user, so display name is by default used. So you can also kind of specifically design it. You can give whatever first name or last name. It depends on the local how you want to have local rules as such. The next one is email ID. So basically email ID is also very crucial because all the system information, notification, like resetting passwords and kind of system updates, everything will be communicated to this email IDs. So you should also maintain it, the correct IDs and which are kind of reachable. So unreachable email IDs, if you kind of add it, the system might not be able to send emails. You will not be able to find out. Basically, until you log into that particular email ID and see that the mails are not visible. So until that, you will not be able to find out. So that's why you should experience caution while adding the email IDs. So similar to user ID, email ID should be also unique. You cannot have multiple same email IDs but with different user IDs. That is not possible. Email ID should be also unique. So basically, these are the required fields: display name and email ID. Then next one is manager, which is kind of optional. So what is a manager field is like, you can assign any person as a manager to a particular user. For example, in our example, I think Rajni could be manager for Akshi and DC. So in case DC and Rajni users are created, they can be managed by Rajni on herself. So what is the advantage is she will be able to give access to them. They can also request different roles and responsibilities within SAC, and Rajni would be able to approve it. So basically manager will be able to approve any requests and roles changes or any authorization requests with respect to their subordinates. So that's the advantage of having the manager field. It is optional in case if you have a team. So generally in a organization there will be a authorization team, secure and authorization team. So they will be maintaining and they will be kind of giving the access to the whole company. So in such cases, we don't need to maintain any manager role. But in case if there is some small teams where they are individually managing their own access rights or authorizations, then yeah, it makes sense to have a manager specific to each user. So that is the manager field. Yeah, then is the roles, so which is the most important one. So basically in the roles you can select the roles which is available in the left hand side. So in case if you click on this kind of value help, you will be able to see the list of roles. So a user will be receiving the security privileges defined in all selected roles. So basically when the user will be assigned any role, so they will receive a notification that they have been assigned. For example, they have been assigned as a planning admin role, so they will be able to plan. Such things will be kind of notified via the notification menu, and basically this is where you define the roles and assign the roles. So once you assign the roles, he will be able to do all the necessary operations that are possible with that role. So in order to select all roles for the user, you can select all members. So basically in case if you want to give all the roles, you can select choose all on the top of the list, or you can select individually. A multi selection will be available. A role selection pop-up supports a toggle display of role ID and description, role sorting, role searching. A user cannot assign a role themselves. Yeah, this is important. So you cannot assign role for yourself. So basically you are the admin and you create a role and you are trying to assign yourself, it won't allow. So basically it is always suggested to have two admins, so that way they can assign roles to each other, and also admin can assign to other users also. A user cannot assign the role to himself. So a user cannot assign a role to themselves, but the user can request a role. In this case, the system administrator or the corresponding manager must agree to provide the role. So that is the flow as such, assigning the roles. Any doubts till now? We will discuss in detail what are the roles available within SAC, which we will discuss detail what are the licenses also. I'm just showing how the interface looks, user interface. Then next one is the licenses. So basically in order to do any operation within SAC, you need to have license. So you have different types of license. For example, you want to do only kind of BI roles, like business intelligence. So in that you have business intelligence roles, business intelligence license. And in case if you want to do planning, there is planning specific license. So all these licenses should be there for your tenant, SAC tenant, and you need to buy them from SAP. So once you have these licenses, then you can create roles and then you can start doing the necessary operations. So user type license is determined by the roles assigned to the user and like the license available. So basically a combination of roles assigned and also the license available will be determining the user type of license. So in case if he has planning roles and he has the planning license, then yeah, he will be able to do the planning specific operation. Or else if he has system owner roles and he has planning professional, then BI, then also prediction, so he can be able to do any operation because also he is a system owner and also he has the license assigned. So I'll just pause it here so that. Okay, so next is how to import. So basically in case if you want to import your users from a different system, or you created a CSV file which has the user data and you want to import these users, then this is the steps. So the user data you want to import must be stored in a CSV file. So by default, this is the allowed permit file type till now. It is a CSV file. Then at minimum your CSV file needs columns. So these columns should be there in your CSV file: user ID, last name, email ID. It is also recommended that you also include first name and display name. So it's also recommended to have username, first name, last name, email ID, and display name. Then if you want all new users to be assigned the same role, so in case if you want new users to be assigned to the same role, then you need to set a default role before importing the users. So while you are enabling the system, your admin should be kind of setting a default role before importing the users. So when he has set it as a default, so automatically whenever the new users are onboarded, they will be assigned to this default role. For example, BA viewer role. So this viewer role will be able to view the dashboards. They won't be able to do any changes or anything with respect to the creation, deletion, and other operations, but they'll just be able to run the dashboard. So by default, generally BI viewer role is the default. So whenever new users will be created, they will be assigned to this role. If you want to assign new user to different roles, include a roles column. So in case if you don't want the users to be by default assigned to a default kind of custom role, then you can define a roles column, and you can also define the roles within your CSV file. Then the roles IDs used for role assignment are outlined in the standard application roles. So you need to check what are the role names within your system, and you kind of fill those values in your roles column within your CSV file. so corresponding to each user. So then you can kind of give certain roles to certain users once you upload. So the procedure is, yeah, you just go to the security part and you click on import files. Then maybe I'll show through the screenshots. So this is how we navigate. So basically this is the security part. So once you click on security, you will be able to see users. Okay. Then you will have this user ID, first name, last name, display, the screen which I showed just now, email, manager, roles, licenses. Then here on the top, you have create role, create user. So when I click on this plus icon, you can manually fill, input all these values here in the rows. Then you have delete icon to delete the user. So whenever you are deleting a user who has created some content, it will not allow you to delete the user until either you delete the content or you move the content from this user to another user. For example, I have Pawan user and I have my user. So for some reason, Pawan decided to move out of this company and he doesn't need to be there in this system. So in that case, I might need to delete Pawan's user. So when I check box at that and I click on delete, it will throw me a warning that Pawan has created 5 stories and 6 models, so and so, and we will not be able to delete until you move these 5 models, 5 stories and 6 models to another user, or delete these 5 models and 6 stories. So what we can do is we can kind of migrate or move that to me. So from Pawan to Tarun, I will move. Then once you move the objects, then the system will allow you to delete the user. So that is how SAC works. So this is for error handling, because in case if you delete some user and his objects are still there, then it will not have any mapping to user. It will not have any access or authorizations defined, and it will become chaos. So that's the reason they won't allow you to delete until you move the contents to the corresponding user. You can move, basically the best practices in case if you want to delete some objects or some users, it's always better to move them to the system owner. So basically you'll have an admin or system owner for SAC. So that way he can control, he can also assign these objects later. In place of Pawan, Akshi joined, so she'll be taking Pawan's role. So we can kind of move the objects back to Akshi's ID. So that way they can kind of work again with the same objects. So that is the delete option. Then yeah, refresh to refresh the entries within the role management, user management. Then we have save option to save the users. Then we have this mapping, SAML mapping. So this is useful when you have a cloud system. For example, like Microsoft Azure cloud maintenance system, Azure, you have portal Active Directory and you are maintaining the users there. So you can map these users, like whenever a user is created in Azure portal, automatically SAC also one user will be created. So that linking you can do in the SAML mapping. Then next one is import. So if you click on this import button, yeah, you will see this option where you can import users from file or import users from Active Directory. So you can also directly import users from your Azure Active Directory. That is the import options. Then we have export option. So export is basically you want to export the data to a CSV file. Then next is search. So basically you want to search some users and you want to see data with respect to them. Then you can search here. So now our scenario is we want to import users from file. So I click on this import button, then I click on this import users from file. So once you click on that, you will be seeing the screen where you can select a source file. So you can click on that. And once you select some source file, next it will ask you to map the fields. So as I suggested, we need to have user ID field, first name field, display name, email ID, all these fields which are mandatory. So yeah, you see this. So basically I have I uploaded a source file. Then the mapping can be seen here. So user ID is this column, AB12, AB13, AB14, AB15 field. So we mapped it to the user ID. Then last name column we mapped to last name. Similarly, email ID we have mapped to the email ID field within the user management. So you can map as many number of columns as possible. If you have roles column also, if you have licenses column also maintained in your Excel, then you can map them to the system also. Then once you finish mapping, you click on OK. So then the user will be imported. So that is the steps to import users from a Excel or CSV file. The next one is kind of roles and permissions. What are the roles? What are the permissions that are available? So basically, this is the place where we see the roles. So this is a security icon. So if you click on that, users, teams, roles you have. So this is the place where we define the roles. So once you click on roles, So basically, there are certain roles which are by default available. SAP provides certain default roles which are available with the SAC tenant itself. Like if you see here, there is something called Analytics Hub. So you have Analytics Hub admin, Analytics Hub content creator, Analytics Hub viewer. Additional to the default roles that are given, you can also create your own custom roles. So basically, you have certain people who are kind of doing two type of work. For example, he wants to be admin, and also he wants to kind of create content. So he is kind of a person who does both. So in such cases, you can either give these two roles, or you can combine these two roles and create a custom role. So here you can define, kind of change, customize whatever according to your system needs, according to your company needs, and create your custom roles. So that is the business analytics hub role. So analytics hub or analytics catalog we will see in the 7th module. I will tell you what is analytics catalog. Then, coming to business intelligence roles, these are the main roles that are available as of now within SAC. So these are the ones which we'll be using more and more. So if you see here, you have application creator. So as the name suggests, this is for analytics designer. In case you want to have someone as a person who wants to create, who wants to develop analytical applications, then you should assign him this role, application creator role. Then next is BA admin. So as the name suggests, he is the admin for all the business intelligence activities. He'll be able to provide, access to other users, access to different folders, access to different stories. He'll be controlling everything. So that is the BA admin. So if you have a admin user, you can assign him to this. Then we have BA content creator. So basically, this is the developer role. So a person who wants to develop stories, models, within SAC, he should have this BA content creator. So he can create the content within SAC. Then the content viewer, this is for the end users. So basically, you have a team who are the consumers of your dashboard. Then they should be assigned to this BA content viewer role. So if you see here, it will have only read privileges. Here it will have create and update privileges. Then next is digital boardroom. So we have something called digital boardroom, which is kind of a specific feature which can be used for executive or people who are in board of management within the company. For them, this digital boardroom is there. So if you want to kind of assign certain developers to develop this digital boardroom, then digital boardroom creator is the role. He can read, create, update, delete with respect to digital boardroom. Then similarly, viewer role, which is read only, which is to the board of the management who will be consuming the digital boardroom. Then next we have this predictive admin. So basically, he is the admin for the predictions. So whatever we have seen, right, smart predict and predictive scenarios. So in such cases, you can assign someone as a predictive admin. So he'll be kind of overtaking or making sure everything goes well with respect to predictions. Basically, a person or any team who is doing the advanced analytics can be responsible for this predictive admin role. The next one is predictive content creator. So a person who wants to create these predictive scenarios and maintain kind of a developer, predictive developer, he can be given this predictive content creator. So all these are kind of predefined roles that are available. Just a minute, guys. I'm getting a phone call. Yeah. So basically, these are the predefined roles that are available within SAC. So any doubts here?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So similar to how we create users, also we can create our own roles. I mean, custom defined roles. So for that, this is the option: create, delete, and refresh. Then we have search icon. So you can also click on a role. So in case you want to know what is the privileges or permissions associated with this role, so once you click on this role, you will see these options. So basically, this is where you will understand what are the permissions that are available with respect to each role. So here I clicked on BA content viewer role. So basically, he is the one who will be kind of reading the dashboards. He will not be doing any creation or updation. He will just consume the dashboards. This is for the end users. So if you see here, for the BA content creator, for the dimensions, we have read currency, we have read planning model, read option, analytical model, read option. Then different options are there. User management, everything he can just read. In case if he wants to view, it's only view, read only option. We don't have any create, update, delete, or execute, maintain it. All these are different set of roles or set of operations that are allowed. So for BA content creator, we can enable only this. So you can create your own roles. Like admin, you can create the different roles. For example, like BA content viewer plus content creator, you can combine, and you can check this create also, read also, update, delete, and save it. So once you do that, so this role whichever you have created, custom role, it needs to be assigned to the user. So in the user management we have seen, right, we need to put that role name there. Then once you save it, the user will be able to create and also read the dashboards. So this is the way how you kind of define operations and access permissions with respect to different roles. So it is always suggested. So we have set of different default roles and we can create custom roles. It is always suggested to use custom roles. It is the best practice. Why? Because this default roles whichever is provided by SAP, if you see this screen, these are the default roles which is provided by SAP. So SAP will keep on updating these roles privileges or permissions for each update. For example, there is some new feature called a story map or something, and they will kind of add story map creation and deletion to this. So there are certain companies who doesn't want to readily start using the features. They want to test the first feature first, then only deploy them to the end users. So such scenarios, you should not use the predefined roles. You should always use custom roles. So it's always suggested to make a copy of this. For example, you want to create a application creator user. So for him, you want to give the application creator roles. So copy this role, create a custom role, and assign that custom role to the user. What is the advantage is if some update happens and this role keeps changing, your role doesn't change. Your custom role will stay same until you kind of update it or modify any changes. So that's the way, that's the main reason why we should always use custom roles. You can use this as templates. So it is useful to have templates from these kind of predefined roles that are available within SAC, but rather you start assigning only the custom roles. So that is the best practice. So you see here, I created a copy of BI viewer and I created a custom role, and then I assign this to the users. So that's the way.
One question, like we can copy the permissions of a user to other one also, right? From
Yes.
user one to user two. Okay.
No, so basically permissions and everything is associated to the role, right? So basically you have like our screen. Basically you see here A00 user is having Z plan RPT custom role. So what is that you want?
No, like for example, like user one have multiple permission, multiple role permission, or it can be only single role. It can be assigned.
It can be multiple roles. It can be multiple roles.
So I say, for example, we have two members in our team. Okay, and we want to give the second member the same permission as the first member. So we can request like just copy the permission.
Yes, you have yes you will have kind of when creating the user, you will have template. You can choose any template. For example, you want to choose another user from copying, so you can select that user and his roles will be copied to this user.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, these are the different flavors within SAC. What are the types of main categories? So which is the system owner, the user, then admin user, then modeler. So these are the use cases as such. So whenever you have SAC system, so these are the main use cases which will be kind of managed, which should be managed. So system owner, as the name suggests, he is the owner of the system. He will be able to do anything. He is the super user. He is the god of the system. He can delete the system also. He can kind of do anything with the system. So you should be careful whom you assign as system owner. Someone who is like an architect or a person who is kind of an admin for the company's IT resources, or the manager of the SAC analytics manager, they can be assigned as system owner, or you can assign some kind of a team also to the system owner. So basically they'll have full privileges. Only one user can be assigned to this role. So system owner can be one person only. It cannot be multiple persons. So whenever you want to change, you can kind of change this system owner to another, from one person to another, but you should also copy the content.
Hey, you know, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features? Bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
One more question, like we have the 5-10 stories, right? So is there any like regular backup going on for SAC Cloud, SAC?
Yes, it will be always backed up. So SAP Analytics Cloud is kind of a software, a service, right, which is managed by SAP. So they will have the content backed up. They have regular HANA backup. So basically, the underlying database used for SAC is HANA, SAP HANA. So that is the database which is available already. So they back up all the content within the tenant.
Okay. Okay. One more question, like at what level we can restore the system, right? It like site-wise restoring or something like we can restore it at to the story level also. For example, someone has by mistake deleted one story. Can we restore that one story only?
Yeah, so basically, as a user, you can restore, but as a tenant maintenance, that is not available with the company. As such, the client, we don't have any options to restore the tenant. So all these update or restoring the system to a version, all this has to be done by SAP. They will only do it. So in case if you want to, for example, your system, SAC system is updated to 15 version, and you have a lot of bugs and everything happening, and you don't want, this is a time, crucial time, where a demo is going to happen, and you don't want to kind of portray this to your end users. So you can drop a mail or connect with SAP to kind of restore it to the 14 version. That you cannot do on yourself. These type of system updates as such has to be done by SAP. But whenever you delete a story or create a new story, well, whatever deleted objects will be having a place called recycle bin within your SAC system itself, your SAC tenant itself. I don't know if I have, let me see if we have access in our trial account. So we have recycle bin within the tenant itself. So there you will have option to kind of restore it. Only admins will be able to restore it. You see here, I'm getting option to extend trial. So I extended it. So I don't know if this recycle bin is there, but generally here we will have a recycle bin. So whatever objects is being deleted, everything will be there in this recycle bin. It will be there for 60 days. So in that time only, you will be able to restore. In case if you miss that 60 days, I suppose there will be again a backup with SAP, because they have the database with them. They might have the objects. You can reach out to them to kind of get it back. But it's a kind of a very extended and worst case scenario. So yeah, system owner. Next one is the admin. Admin is kind of having little less roles than system owner. So system owner is kind of a person who's kind of technically sound enough to understand the architectural concepts and the networking concepts and stuff, whereas admin is the person who will be able to do the BI admin stuff. So basically he can define and kind of guidelines and all the connections, everything he'll be able to define. Admin. System owner also can also do, but system owner can create the user management, can do the active directory mapping, SAML single sign-on mapping. All those system owner will be able to do, but admin cannot do. So admin as such will be kind of restricted to the stories, all the objects that are within the SAC, like features like models, stories, analytical applications, all those he will be able to control. So you can consider admin as a subset of system owner. So admin also will have full privileges, but yeah, there is some kind of a terms and conditions there. There is a specific list there. He can access all the functional areas. He can also kind of read all the data within the SAC itself. So basically, any functional area, you create a different folders. Like in public folder, you have defined different folders, and an admin can access all of them. He will not have any restriction. The next one is a modeler. So modeler is kind of a content creator role. So users who wants to develop stories and models, they can get the modeler access. So they will be able to do the modeling privileges. Then they will have access to the models and dimensions. So that is with respect to business intelligence use cases. The next one is planning. So in planning also we have planning reporter, planning viewer, and I think this is planning admin. Probably there is a mistake. So this is planning admin. So reporter and viewer and admin. So what will the reporter will do? He will be able to do the planning and reporting privileges. He can create and modify planning stories. He can also define the data access. But whereas the viewer will be only able to read only, he will not have able to change also. So basically this will have option to edit the data and update the data. So if you see planning, we did a scenario, right? We will be able to kind of input values also. So planning reporter will be able to edit, whereas viewer will only be able to read only. Then kind of he will not be able to change also. So basically this is for the end users, planning end users. So this is the viewer role. Then this planning admin role is kind of full privileges with respect to planning. Then yeah, we have some more extended roles like BA, content creator, and content viewer. So content creator is for the developer who wants to develop dashboards and models. So he can create BA content and models. Then content viewer is kind of read only. Then BTP content creator is kind of in case if you want to use the business technology platform and you want to create some data sources there, then you can use this BTP content creator role. Then content viewer, BTP content viewer. So in case if you have created some data sources, mapped some connections in BTP platform, and they want to consume that content, then we have this role. Then boardroom creator, yeah, he can create boardrooms. Then boardroom viewer, allowed to view boardrooms. So any questions till now? So next is called teams. So what is a team? So basically teams is a group of users. So you can you can control the access information using teams. So a team is a group of users. A user can belong to multiple teams. So you have kind of a team. For example, your team is the Goodyear project team. So you can create a teams as such within SAC, and these teams will have 5 or 6 users like Rajni, Akshi, DC, and all those. They can be part of this team. So what is the advantage is this will help us kind of define roles together for a team. So in case if you're working on a certain project and there is a specific role assigned to this project, so in that case we can just assign a new member, whoever comes on boards to the company, we can assign him to these teams. So these teams will already have the access roles which are necessary. So that will be kind of inherited by the user. So that is the advantage. Maintenance will be very easy with respect to teams. So yeah, a user can belong to multiple teams. If a role is assigned to the team, then all members of the team inherit that role. Each team has a team folder which can only be accessed by users in that team. So I think one of the use cases like Pawan asked, so in case if a new user comes, you want to copy his roles, rather than copying, you can have a team maintained. So you can add him to that team, and by default, whatever access and roles has been defined to that team will be inherited by the user. So that is the advantage of teams. So this is how the flow looks. So basically you create the users, then you create the teams, then you create the roles, then assign the roles to the users or the teams. So first you kind of onboard, you have 10 users, you have onboarded 10 users. Then in the 10 users, they are coming from 2 different teams. One is the BA team, one is the planning team. So 5 users to the planning team, 5 users to the BA team. So you create 2 teams and assign these 5 users to each team. Then you create a role. So you can create a custom role like BA role and planning role. So once you create these roles, you can assign BA role to the BA team, planning role to the planning team. Or if you feel that you want to assign directly to the user also, you can assign. But the best way is always to have it as a team, because that way you can mass update and mass delete, or change it at a single shot rather than doing for every single user. So you see here graphics. So 2 users. So multiple users can be part of team. So a team can have multiple users. Same thing, a user can be part of multiple teams also. There is no restriction. So any doubts here? I hope it is basic. You can understand it. So next is like how to use the users page to create users. So you can select one or more roles while you are creating the users. So before getting started creating the users, you might want to become familiar with standard application roles with any existing and default or custom roles. Yeah, you can still assign the roles after you have created the user. So it's not necessary to kind of assign the roles after immediately while creating the user, but you can create the user and later at some point of time you can figure out which role needs to be assigned, then you can assign it or you can update it also. Yeah, so basically these are the standard roles, then there is custom roles, then there is default roles. So standard roles is the ones which is available by default from SAP. So these roles are available depending on the license included. So in case if you have subscribed for BA license or planning license, so specific to the license you will have some standard roles. So that is the standard roles. Then custom roles is something which you created. So on your own you have created certain roles for your company needs. So that is the custom roles. Then there is default role, so which is kind of defaultly assigned to any new user that is created. So by default, generally BA viewer is the best role that can be assigned to all the users. They should be able to read the dashboards. So behavior can be put as a default role. So kind of how you navigate from the user page to create user. So basically here you have this plus icon. So you click on this plus, then this is where you enter details. You enter a user ID. So as I said, user ID should be unique. Then first name, last name, then email ID. Then you can assign manager in case you want that person to be assigning the, making sure he kind of approves his team members' roles and responsibilities. So you can assign particular person as a manager. So it is also suggested to have a manager for a team. So for suppose you created a BI team, you can assign manager to the team. So whatever changes that needs to be updated in the team, the manager can take care of. So in case in future there is a new kind of model that is available for consumption and they need to have read write access to that model, so they want to update the read write access for the whole team, then the manager can himself kind of update access to the teams. So all the people in the teams will be having the updated roles. So that way you should also kind of make use manager feature there. So once you create a manager, if a manager is assigned, user can request roles for kind of additional requests also you can assign. He can also request from the home page itself. For example, he clicked on a story and he didn't see any kind of data from the story. He can click on this user button and he has the option to request roles. If you click on request roles, an email will be sent to the manager who will be assigned to the team. So that manager can respond. He can update the user's access rights so that he will be able to access the story. Yeah, so once you create the user, this is the way. So these are the options. In case if you have system custom roles, it will also show up here. So all the available roles will be shown. So you can check box, you can select one or you can select multiple and click on OK. So those roles will be assigned to that particular user. Okay, then let me pause it here. So any doubts until here? How to create user and creating teams? What are the standard roles? So basically till now we have seen different ways to create users. So one is using uploading the CSV file. Other one is kind of manually, adding a user one by one. Then we have seen kind of what are the standard roles that are available. Then we have kind of seen what is the basic understanding of a teams, why we need a teams. So let us see how to create teams. So there are multiple ways to create teams. So a teams is generally a group of users that may collaborate on same stories or share access to the folders or objects in SAP Analytics Cloud. So basically you can consider group of team. What are the typical use cases are? You are having a group of users who are working on the same project, so they can be part of a team. Or you have certain users like people who have certain roles within the company. For example, you have this HR team. So the HR team will be able to access only HR dashboards. Then finance team will have their own finance dashboards. In such cases, you can create a team for HR, create a team for finance. Then you can maintain the users, all the finance users in that team. So that way it's easier to maintain. It's also easier to group and kind of define roles for them. So those are the main use cases. Then teams can be created using teams page, using SAML attribute mapping. So you can there are two ways. Both methods are shown in the next steps. So basically, this is how you define the permissions and roles with respect to the teams. So you have a team here, for example, team 1, and in that you have user B and C are the participants or members of this team. So this team will have access to this folder, like my folder, which has read and edit access. Then additional to this folder, he also has this roles. So BI content creator roles is there. In that you have custom permissions like read, update, delete, and other things. So this is a typical structure where team is kind of the central object, so which kind of controls all these sub user management, also folder management and role management. Everything is part of the team. Yeah, in order to create the team, so you have certain steps like similar to how we created user. In the security screen, this is teams. So click on the teams. Then once you kind of click on the create team button, you have option to kind of give a name. It's mandatory to give a name. You can use, I think there is some 150 or 200 characters limit. I'm not sure what it is. So it's changed. I think 200 limit will be there. So you can define a team name. You can give a description. So once you kind of create the team, you can add members. So by default, whoever is created, whoever is creating the team. So for example, you are creating the team, or let me name a user. So for example, Pawan is creating a team. So once he click on create, by default, he will be added to this team. Later, he can remove himself, or he can add other people also. We can change at any point of time any number of members for that team. So that is the way how teams are created. You can also create from the start menu option on the top. Yeah, once you kind of create the team, you can add the users. So basically you click on add button here, add member. So you will be able to see all the list of the users that are available in the system based on the their if they have kind of logged in or logged out. So by default, when a user is created, first time he has to log into the system in order to make himself an active user. If he's not active user, he will not be shown in different places. So first time he has to log in. So once you log in, it become an active user. So all the active users list will be shown in the teams addition screen. He can select. We can do multi selection and click on OK. So yeah, that is how we create the teams. Next we will see how to kind of modify the user information. So in case if you have a requirement to kind of modify user information in the certain point of time, then yeah, we should see how it's done. So basically there are multiple ways to modify user information within SAC. Yeah, you can using batch update. You can use the CSV file, kind of you can re-upload to kind of update the user's information. And also you can use kind of a manual way where we have seen the select option and kind of edit option. So who does this modification if users? Basically system administrators or system owners should be only allowed, or they will only be allowed to do the modification of users. So different entities, if we can modify, like you can update the email address. So you can update the user email address used for login. When you create a user, you must add an email address. This email address will be used to kind of send and receive the login information. So to edit a user email address, you can go to security and select the user and add a new email ID and press enter. So that will kind of update the email ID. So if a email ID is already assigned to another user, a warning will appear. You must enter a new address. As I said, every user should have a unique email ID. You will not have two users with same email ID. So that's why it will throw a warning. So you should always select a unique email ID. Then once you select the email ID, or once you update the email ID, a new logon email will be sent to the updated email address. For example, my email ID is something trainer@gmail.com. I have created certain objects. I'm an active user in SAC. Now my email ID has been updated to trainer01@gmail.com. So I go and edit the email ID and I give the new email ID. So once I click on save, a new logon email will be sent to the new email ID, where the user will be kind of authenticated. So they have to kind of activate their account from the new email address. So as long as a user has not logged on with the new email ID, the email ID will appear in a pending state. So basically, first time, all the users who has been created as a new users, or when you update their email IDs, they have to kind of first time they have to activate using their email ID. Until then, the user will not be active. So that is how you generally kind of manual update email address. You can also do it from the file also. Additional to that, you can edit a SAML mapping also. So in case if you have Azure Active Directory where you have mapped the user information, so that also can be done. I'll show it in the next steps. So yeah, deletion option also we have seen, like you have a delete option on the top. You click on that. So as I said, all the objects created by the user should by default be added to the other user before we delete the certain user. So next we will see the team management, how kind of we do the management of teams. So yeah, this is how you click on the team. You will see the name and description. So additional to that, you will see the number of members. So 41 team members are there. Then with the team members, you will see kind of a list to sort. You can choose whether you want to see display name wise or email ID wise, or first name, last name, then sort it, then search it, then add new members, then delete new members. You can indirectly assign the role to the users by assigning the role to a team. So basically, how to assign the roles to the teams. So either you can assign to the roles directly, or assign the roles to the teams, and then assign the users to the teams. So that is how there are two ways where we can assign the roles. Then next we will see what are the roles and access management. So yeah, basically there is different roles, different permissions. I have covered at least a brief. I have covered what is a system role and system administrator. So basically these roles define the set of permissions for the user types within SAC. Access developers can define these roles based on product features. So basically, based on the product features also, you can define the access roles. For example, you want to create a separate role for predictive features. Yeah, you can create a custom role, predictive admin role, predictive viewer role. Similarly, boardroom also is a different feature. So for that also, you can define boardroom viewer, boardroom content creator. So based on the product features also, you can define different roles. Yeah, for example, system administrator or content creator, each of these roles would have their own permissions for what they access, delete, and modify. So yeah, we have seen this. So one use case will be like a user can directly be assigned to the role. So this user has to be, a individual user who is not going to be part of this complete landscape, team landscape. He is a kind of a system admin or system owner. For that user, you can directly assign the role. Then other one is like he can be part of a team, like Goodyear project team. Additional to that, he can also define folder rights also. So whenever a user is part of the team, so he will be able to read or write based on that particular folder rights also. So it is always suggested to maintain teams and then assign these two teams to the folders, because in case if you assign individual users, for example, you created a folder and there is a person C, and only C has access to this folder, and in case if you delete this guy's role, then you need to assign to the system owner. Then kind of there is a lot of rework that needs to be done in order to assign the access to this folder, in case if you have only one user assigned. To avoid such anomaly situations, it's always suggested to assign teams to the folder. So basically this folder is kind of a SAC business intelligence project folder. You have a SAC business intelligence team. You assign this team to the folder. Whoever is part of that, you can add and remove at later point of time. So that way the maintenance is be very easy. If any doubts here with respect to the folders?
No, not from my end.
Yeah, now let's see what is a folder. So when a team is created, by default, there is an option to create a system generated team folder. So first of all, you created a team called BI team. Then by default, the system will have an option enabled to create a team folder. So basically all the resources with respect to your team's project or team's objects will be kind of put in a system generated teams folder. So you will have a BI team folder created. In that you can put all the objects, and by default all the members of the team will have read and write access to the team folder. So when a team is created in SAC, there is an option by default to create a system generated team folder in which any member of the team can create, delete, edit objects. So I created a BA team. So I automatically the system will create a BA team folder, and all these team members will be able to edit these objects. So in this scenario, there is a risk of multiple versions of truth and non-standard reports being created. So yeah, you can see that because it's having all the users having edit and delete rights. So there can be people who can kind of multiple overrides happen, multiple delete happen. So to avoid that, you can also define a person as kind of a owner for that team folder. You can make full control for that person to that folder, and rest of the people you can just give read only or kind of edit only access. Delete option you can give only to the manager or the scrum master, or based on the different roles you have in your office for the project, you can give that particular person a specific role. So he will be able to complete everything, maintain everything in the folder, and other people can just use the objects within that folder. We can also control the creation of team folders by unchecking. Yeah, it's, as I said, it's by default selected. You can disable it. So you don't want the system generated folder to be there. You want to create your own folder. You can disable and create your own folder for the teams, and you can assign them. Yeah, so this is the typical schematic view how the folder structures will look. So by default, you will have the system folder. So in this system folder, you have samples. So I think we have seen in the first exercise, we have certain samples that are provided by SAP by default. So all these part of these samples only. Then in that samples you will have subfolders. Then next is the users. So basically all the users who's created in the system will have their own folders, private folders. So if you see in your system, there is something called my files, right, which is private. So my files is part of this users folder. So every user will have a private folder created for himself where they can kind of create their own objects. So this users is there under that. For example, my user ID is Tarun. So under that Tarun folder will be there. In Tarun folder, you will have again subfolders. So Tarun folder is only accessible to me and system admin and system owner. Only these three people can access. System admin and owner, as I said, they are the full control. So they can access any folder, any file. But whereas users, it will only be specific to the users. Then we have this public folder. So you have the public folder where there are subfolders created. So this is where everybody will be access. All the users in the system will be able to access public folder. So in case if you have a project which has to be used across the teams, then you create a folder in public folders. Then you can add objects there. Then you can do all the operations there. Then additional to public folder, you can create your own teams folder. As I said, you create a BI team and you created a BI team folder. Only the members of the team will be able to access this folder, and you can create any number of subfolders. So if you see here, the folders are managed by all the blue color folders will be managed by system. These are not customizable. So basically you cannot edit or rename these folders. So the samples, users, public and system, these are only maintained by the system. Then that are in yellow are managed by system, but can be created on behalf by system administrator. So administrator can create by default this teams folder and also the user folder. Then individually folders can be created by a user with appropriate rights and customizable rights like create, rename, delete and move. All these black folders. So any doubts with respect to access management architecture?
Arun, I have one question. Like, can we give access to a user for a single story?
Yes, we can.
How? Because I can see like it is folder level or team level or.
Yeah, basically it is kind of a inherited way. So basically, let me take an PowerPoint. Let me use a sketch or something here. So basically you have a story. Okay, one story here. So this story by default should be part of some folder, right? You cannot have it anywhere. So basically in SAC, if you see here, everything is in folders. Yes or no? So it has to be part of one folder. So that is the reason why we put it in a folder. So this story is part of a folder, which is kind of, let me put, this is a BA folder. Okay. So now a user is there, user A. Okay. So in case for him to, if he wants to access this story, he should definitely have access to this folder, right?
Main folder.
Yes. So you can define in a way that he can access this story. So by default, if you give access to him for this story, by default, he will be able to read the folder also, right? It's two ways. So by default, if you give him access to this folder, he will be able to read the story also.
Okay, so we should have like for one user we want to give only one story access to the user. So that story should be in separate subfolder, right? That single story.
Yes, it's always better to have a separate subfolder. Okay. You can also define directly on the story. So for example, you have another story here. So there is S1, there is S2. Okay, these are again two different stories. You can define this read access to him on the story level, and here you don't define for him. Okay. Then he will be able to open this folder and read the story. And in case if he clicks on this story, he won't see anything. It will throw an error. You are not authorized.
Okay.
So that way also you can define.
Okay.
But a best practice is always to have separate folders, because a story is not a separate object. Story will definitely will have models, right? Because there is no point in having a story without models. You cannot do anything. There will be a blank story. So that's why it is always suggested to create a create a folder for a different project as such. So basically you can put all the models here. S1 is a story name, models are M1, M2. So you can have a subfolder for this. Then you can have another subfolder if you want, where you have, S2, M3, M4 and all. So in case if you want certain group of people to access only this story and model, you can define that role and assign it to the user. user B. Then this guy wants to access only this story, user C, you can give fine. But by default, these both should have read access to the master folder. Okay.
Okay.
Subfolder you can define directly to this user.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is the way. So any other doubts? So yeah, we will see in detail what is different folders. So basically this is the public folder. So the public folder is the root folder, contains all subfolders in it. Access to environments and teams areas is managed through folder permissions. Users can be restricted to and will not be directly assigned to these folders. Folder access will be administered strictly through teams. So basically you will have public folder, which is the root folder, which contains all the subfolders. So this is accessible to all the people, all the users by default within the system. Still you can kind of modify and you can assign, different folder access through the folder management options that are available. I'll show you different folder management options once I kind of demo you. So that is a public folder. Then, so I think I explained, you were able to understand, right? The public folder. I was explaining user folder, I think. Yeah, so user folder is a private folder for every user of SAC. So here they can create as many stories, as they want, models also, as many subfolders they want, they can create. Then this private folder cannot be shared, or saved to be a team folder. So you cannot share this private folder. If a user is deleted from SAC, respective user folder also will be deleted. So that is the thing. So basically every user ID we will create will have their own private folder. And whenever this user ID is deleted, the corresponding user folder also will be deleted. So that is the reason whenever we delete a user, you need to move the content to another system owner or the another user, then only delete the user. Yeah, then we have this different kind of, again, the same roles explanation. So what is the BA content viewer role, content creator role? I already explained. Content viewer role is kind of read only privilege. Content creator is to create content. Admin role, these are the, so basically all these are standard roles. So which host all permissions, which all the permissions available in the system, and kind of a super user, BA admin. Then system owner, only one technical user. So it's mandatory to give the technical user this system owner role, because non-technical people might be kind of having a kind of a issue where they don't understand technical stuff, and in case they don't configure it right, then this whole system will go for a toss. So that's why definitely an architect or a network admin or a basis team person should be there as a system owner. So what are the key takeaways? Yeah, so any role from the system, standard or custom, can be defined as a custom role or as a default role when a user is created. So the system will assign this default role on its own. Yeah, you can also do the manual mapping also. Then yeah, user ID and email address are strictly mandatory to allow user creation in SAC. Then all the characters or email ID should be small. Yeah, this is also one more important thing. Email address should be always is a case sensitive, so it should always have small letters. Then the folder permissions. So yeah, the second principle considered here while concluding the access design approach is users can access SAC folders through assignment of teams or an individual. So you can assign a direct user to the folder, or you can assign a team to the folder. So the team-based folder access strategy involves less administrative efforts, but again is more inclined based on the requirements of customer. So as I said, you have a folder, you can either assign 5 users directly to this folder, or you can create a team and assign these 5 users to this team and assign this team to the folder. So that way the maintenance is less, because later if you have 100 users and you want to manually change the permissions for that user, you can change the team permission and everybody will update, all the roles will be updated for that people who are in the team. Whenever you do manually, it is kind of a lot of effort. It has to be done manually and it takes more time. So it is always advised to have teams. Though now we will see what are the different folder permissions that are available. So for a folder, these are the options that are available. You can select view. So view means read access. Then there is edit. So edit is a master category. Under that you have update, create files, create folders, maintain. So basically view will have only read access. If you give this to the person, he will not be able to create anything like model creation or a story creation or folder creation. They won't be allowed to do. But however, if you give edit, he will be able to do all the options. So maintain is in case you want to rename the folder, that is the maintain. Copy and other things comes under maintain. Then update is kind of delete and all those things. then you can create files and folders within that folder. So by default, if you select full control, then all this permissions will be given. So how is the realization of permissions happening? So basically there are users, then there are roles, then all these can be part of a teams. So teams again will have certain permissions with respect to the folders. So folders is where your objects will be stored. So this is the top to down approach. So yeah, SAC workflow, access workflow. So SAC also allows access provisioning workflow under its self-service feature. One can define roles and owners to manage the workflow. So once the workflow is complete, the access of individual is updated in the system. So you can also define self-service workflow where users can themselves request. So if you have seen, there is an option to request role when you click on the user icon. So you can assign a person as a manager to that particular user, and whenever this person who is part of the manager's team asks for a request, the manager can approve, and the corresponding person will get the updated role. So that is the access workflow. Then additional to the normal folders permissions and access permission, there is also data level controls, which is possible. The stories and dashboards through information as an output based on data controls at SAC level. We can also define data level controls. One of the possible scenario is kind of if you have SAC application controls that need access to the different dashboards, and within the dashboards you want to define different dimensions. For the dimensions you want to define the different access restrictions. That is also possible. I think one of the example we have seen in planning where we have a region and you have a different managers for different regions, and you want to restrict based on the region values. For example, West region should be planning enabled to only particular person. You can also define that access roles, data access roles in the model also. Then additional to the data access roles, we also have different types of access. So catalog access is there, which is the supplemental use case. So this catalog part I will cover in module 7. So basically all the stories will be published as a catalog. So users can view this catalog. So in order to view the access, they need this role. Then there is bookmark. So bookmark is also kind of a different access, like you can view, edit, delete. I think we have seen, right, private bookmark, global bookmark in our exercise 3. So that is also different type of access with respect to bookmarks. Then if there are different ad hoc use cases, like you want to share the stories with a user or team, you can do it. There is access type like view access, edit access, or full access. That is also possible. Then the main type of access is the folder access. So you can create a folder in a public area. You can share the folder with a user or a team. Then if a user or team is assigned to that particular story or the model, then they can based on the access right. For example, if they have only view access, they can view all the objects, but they cannot edit. Whereas if they have edit, they will be able to edit and modify all the objects within the story also. So I'll pause here. Maybe workspace we can anyway cover. I'll show you what is different options that are available. So here there is this system folder. I hope you can see my SAC screen, right?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. Yes. So basically this is a system folder, and the system you have all the subfolders like samples, users, public. So users, again, it's private to each person. So I am the trainer here. So I have my private folder. In case if you all the thousands users will have their own private folders. So that will be under the users folder. Then there is samples. So basically the samples is the place where some default samples SAP has given. All these objects, stories will be there here. Then there is public folder. So public folder by default will be accessible to all the users. Inside that public folder, you can have subfolders. You can create your own folders and you can define the access rights. So that is the folder structure here. Now let me go to this public folder, and here I have created a folder called SAC Planning.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network. connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
So in order to enable the folder access rights, there is option here, share. Okay, this icon, you can click on this, or you can select this folder and you can click on this option here. So by default, it's disabled if it's because it's a trial access, but generally you will have this share icon where you can share with users. So let me click on this share icon. So if you click on share icon, what is the thing you are seeing is you see the link of the folder. So you can also share this folder link to your user group. They will get the direct access to the link for the folder. Then here is the where you can add the teams or users. You can directly add the users to this folder, or you can add teams. So once you add the user or teams, you can define what access you should give. So default is view access. So basically they will be able to read all the objects. They won't be able to edit or copy or do anything. They'll just kind of do view rights. Then next is edit. Edit is basically they can do the view plus edit the options. Then there is fill control, which is combination of both. Then if you don't want to give all these, then there is something like custom. So if you click on, so basically let me select view. This is view, then edit, then full control. So full control is kind of, he will be the admin for that folder. So basically the manager or the project scrum master can be kind of a admin or the person with full control to that folder. Then you have custom, which is kind of, you can manually select. So here for view, this is options available: read, copy, view, comment, add comment. Then for edit, you have update, create folders, create files, then maintain. Then full control, you will get delete the object, share the object, delete the comments. All these are under full control. So basically you can uncheck or check whichever roles you want. So I have a scenario where I want to give him read access, and also I need to give him option to create folders, create files and create folders, and also maintain. So you can select that custom, and this custom will be there, and here you can add. So as of now in this system, I am the only user. If you'll be able to add it. Okay, I don't think I have. Yeah, so basically whenever you type here, so in case if the username is matching this, searching pattern, typing pattern, it will come up here and you can select. Once you select the type of access, you click on share, you will be able to see here. So maybe I will delete this as of now. Yeah. So what I will do, I will give all users in this system. If you type all, you will be able to do the all users. I will select all users. I will give them edit rights. Okay, let me give view rights. So here you have an option to kind of share existing subfolders and files. So if you disable it, only the master folder will be kind of, they will be able to access only the master folder. They won't be able to access the subfolders and files. Then yeah, you will have an option to email. So by default for all users, it won't be enabled, but for kind of a particular user, it will be enabled. So what is the option is, if you select this option, they will get an email that so and so person has shared this folder with you. Do you want to access? Then they will get a link to the folder. So once you kind of define all these details, then click on share. So yeah, then you see this for all users, view rights have been given. At any point of time, you can update. So edit rights, I want to give to selected folder, it's subfolder and folders and files. You can also delete. So this is how the folder access is done. Any doubts here?
And from
Similar to the folders, you can also define for stories. On the story level, can we define? We can also define that. So in case if we go to, let me see in my folder. So this is the planning story. So I think, let me go to another story. Okay. Yeah, similar to kind of a folder, you can also define the access rights on the story. Same, you will be seeing the same screen where you can, assign users directly read, write, full control to this story only. Okay, so the same thing can be done. I can give for all users. So by default, since I have given all the users read rights for this folder, it will be inherited to this story. So basically any objects within the story will be inheriting the roles which is given to the folder level. So of the objects within that folder will have this roles inherited. In case you want to additionally do it differently for the story itself, you can also do it. Like inside this folder, I want to give them some custom roles for this story itself. Like I want them to update, copy. So I can do this also. You can also copy from parent, all these things out there. So that will give them advantage where you can define directly on this story rather than on the folder, and then they will be using this particular restrictions for the story. So I hope for this use case which we discussed, for that it makes sense to have directly on the story level or the subfolder level. So that is the user management, folders access management. Any doubts till now? So yeah, right, you can create folder, and on the folder you can define different options, and also you get the URL. So in case you have certain users who are not part of the SAC tenant yet, you can also share them this URL, and they will be directly navigated to this folder. So with that, I think we covered different folder permissions. So next is called workspace. So what is a workspace? Workspace is a very new feature which has been launched, I think, probably last year December. So basically these are the virtual spaces within SAC. So SAP administrator can set up these virtual spaces. This will kind of mimic the organizational department or line of business or regional structure or any organizational setup. So what is the advantage is it will let you organize the content for access by different teams or users, and they can share the content and collaborate within this workspace. So basically you have different departments in your company: HR department, sales, finance. You can create workspace for sales, you can define workspace for finance, you can define workspace for IT department. So workspace is kind of a master folder. In that you can organize all your content, and you can define access rights with respect to workspace. So that way one department doesn't need to access other departments information or data. They will be restricted or confined to their own workspace. So this is the workspace screen. So you can create workspace from this plus icon. So yeah, you can define which teams needs to be accessing this workspace and who wants to be the workspace admins. What is the scenario is users in a workspace can share their content developers can collaborate. So content for production is moved to the public folder. So once you kind of create some content, it will be available in this workspace, and it can be accessible through the public folder also to this workspace. So yeah, this is a new feature. As of now, I think in our trial we don't have, but in future it might be available. So in case if you want to kind of create different departments within the SAC and you want to have content tailored to their requirement, then you can have different workspaces. Workspace administrators can use this workspace management tool to create, manage, or delete new workspaces. Because the workspace is essentially a partition of SAC file repository, the content administration of the workspace can be customized for a smaller group of SAC users without adjusting the overall content and administration for the entire SAC tenant. So this is useful because in public folder, if you do changes, it will be applied to all the users. In such scenarios, you want to kind of change only to the specific group of people or specific department, then it's always suggested to create a workspace. And here you can play around, you can change the roles, responsibilities, then access, and also kind of objects. You can also modify, update, delete. Everything can be done within the workspace. And it has the flexibility that it will be applied only to this selected group of people, not the whole SAC tenant. So for example, workspaces can be created in which departments they can create their own data models and stories that no other SAC user can access. So if you see this finance data, it is very confidential. It is something like you cannot share this finance data with whole company. There are only certain people who will be able to see this data. So such scenarios, you create workspace, you can have their dashboards in that. Another example is HR data. So salary information and hike information or bonus information that is accessible only to the HR team. So in such scenarios, you can create a workspace for HR team and they can only access this data. Yeah, next is data security. Any doubts with respect to workspace? If not, then we will move to the next topic, which is the data security part. So yeah, how the security aspects worked. So basically in SAC, it's a cloud product and software as service. So when you are using live data queries, so SAC doesn't store any data. It only stores the metadata. For example, like what is the column name or what is the view name that is going to access this data source, but not the data, only the metadata will be there. So when you trigger something in SAC, we will have metadata queries, which in turn triggers the data queries, which is triggered as a query to the database or the data source. So that is how the flow happens. So from the public cloud, it only sends the metadata for a live connection. So metadata is the name of the dimensions, ID, name, and salary. Once you trigger this metadata queries, the system will send the data queries. If you see, ID is 1, name is Alice, salary is $80,000, something like that. So this is how the flow happens. So now in case if you want to define access with respect to, so this is for live models. With respect to import models, how you want to define access. So you can define access using the dimensions. So in each dimension option, you will have an data access control switch button. So he can enable and disable. So if you enable it, you will be able to see this data access control. And yeah, that particular dimension can be used for controlling the data access. I will show you an example. So this is a screenshot. I think we have covered this part of planning role, right? Planning demo, where we kind of modify the access settings. We kind of enabled this entity dimension for data access control. You can also define this data access control in the right side panel also. So once you do define it, you will be able to control. Next, we have the roles and licenses. So with respect to the roles and licenses, yeah, this is Analytics Catalog now. It is renamed to Analytics Catalog. Then there is business intelligence roles. Then there is planning roles, planning standard roles, and planning professional roles. So these are the typical 4 types of roles that are available. Sorry, 4 types of licenses that are available within SAC. So a single role can consume only one type of license. So when you create analytics admin role, it can connect to one license, analytics hub license. So when you create a BA admin, it will consume one license, BA license. When you create a planning standard role, it will consume only one planning standard license. Similarly, planning professional also. So a single role can consume only one license. So it is always suggested to have good number of licenses kind of already bought when you have a estimation that certain users will be using the system. Yeah, then there are also some ways where a user can consume multiple licenses. So role can consume only one license, but however, a user can consume more than one license type. So if you see a planning professional license will kind of already have planning standard license within it, because this is one level above planning standard. So that's why it is a superset of this planning standard. So planning professional will have planning standard. Then a planning standard license includes a business intelligence named user license. So, and a user can consume only one business intelligence license named and concurrent. So basically, I will explain you in a schematic way. That way you will understand easily. Reset. Can I do reset? So for suppose you have user A, he is kind of a person who does business intelligence. So for him, you have to give BA role. So this BA role will have BA license. Okay, BA license. Then we have user B, who consumes kind of a both BI and planning. So he will have kind of both roles. Then for these, again, we will have only one license, BA license. Then for this planning role, we will have planning license. Okay, so these are the scenarios. So however, if you are using planning professional, it has planning standard inbuilt. So that is a scenario where you have a superset of the license. So that is also one way. So a user can consume multiple roles, and through that he can consume multiple licenses also. So that is the scenario here. So you have different users, user F, G, H, I. So here you have Analytics Hub. So Analytics Hub, you have different role. Then there is business intelligence role, which again is assigned. And user H is kind of a person who will do additional to Analytics Hub and business intelligence. He is a person who will do planning standard. So he wants to view the planning stories. For him, we will assign planning standard. Then user I, he is an admin, planning admin. So he will have Analytics Hub, business intelligence, then planning standard, then also planning professional. So there is something called named user and concurrent user. I will explain you in the next slides, but you just kind of keep it in mind. There is named and concurrent session. So any doubts here? How to consume license, how to consume roles? I know it's like too much information, but if you are able to understand its overview, you will be able to grasp it. So basically the mapping is one license can be consumed only for one role. However, multiple roles can be assigned to the multiple users, or a user can consume multiple roles. So that is the basic overview picture of the combining or using the licenses. So yeah, same thing we have given in textual description. So possible combinations can be a planning license, standard or professional, cannot consume a business intelligent concurrent license. So basically, as I said, one role can consume only one license. A planning professional role can only consume planning professional license. It cannot consume business intelligence license. So the same thing. So yeah, then rest all the things we already covered. So user G also has, both named and concurrent license. So if you see here, he has named and concurrent session. I will tell what is named and concurrent session later. So this is also the way another combination where the users can consume the licenses. Yeah, the same thing. If you want to use Teams, so this is the schematic way. So default is like you can directly assign the roles to the users, or you can assign the roles to the teams, and the teams will have members. So whoever is part of the teams will able to consume those roles, and in turn those licenses. Guys, is this understandable, or do you want me to explain it still more in detail? Am I audible? I hope I'm still audible.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted a confirmation because I have no response. So okay, I'll pause here. I will tell what is a named user and concurrent user. So named user means, so basically, let me roll back these changes. So you have users A, B, C, for example. Okay. So what is named user means? A named user is kind of you directly assign the licenses to these people. Okay. So what is named user? You can assign 3 named user licenses. So as the name suggests, you are assigning the user licenses to directly this guy. So I assign this guy 1 license, this guy 1 license, this guy 1 license. So what is the problem with this is the number of licenses will increase because it is exclusively assigned to them. Okay. Now let me tell you what is concurrent licenses. We have same users A, B, C, and these 2 people are in Asia region. Okay. And this person is in Europe. Okay. Europe. So for me, the scenario is at any point of time, my company, 2 people are, for example, Asia people only will be working at any point of time. And apart from the time zones, Europe people will be working in a different time zone, and Asia people will be working in a different time zone. So at any point of time, I'm sure that only 2 sessions are required. So in such scenarios, it is always better to buy 2 concurrent licenses. Why? Because concurrent licenses is assigned to the system tenant as a whole. So basically, if I am kind of using these 2 concurrent licenses, these 2 people will be able to log in and they can consume these 2 concurrent licenses, and the time zone changes and this guy will log in and he will be able to consume this license again. So in this way, for the concurrent license, you will save cost. Okay. In case of named license user, in case if these guys are using or not using, you need to buy the license. There is no other way that they can save the license cost. So you need to cost, like here the license cost is $100, so $300 you need to spend. Okay. So on this, here you have still 3 people only, but whereas you have taken concurrent licenses, so you can spend only $200 because I'm sure that at any point of time only 2 people will be logged in. So that way I can save 1 license cost, and it will save the cost when you have multiple users in your organization. So that is the difference between named user and concurrent user. So basically, named user will have a dedicated license to each and every user, whereas concurrent license will have based on the sessions. So is it understandable, clear, or you want me to explain with different example?
No, it is clear.
Yeah. So basically, it is always suggested in case if you have a company who are based on different regions. So for example, India and US is quite opposite. So when Indian people are logged in, US will be having nighttime and they'll be sleeping. So the same way, the other way around. So in that cases, you can club these users certain licenses and you can buy concurrent licenses. That way you can save money. Whereas named users, if you have certain people like your board of management or your business intelligence team who might not be accessing specific time, but they need access all the time. We never know when they will access, but whenever they log in, they need to have their access working. So in that scenarios, you can go for named users. So in case if you have people working in different time zones or who are abruptly again working sometime and working in different softwares in different times, then you can go for concurrent license. So that way you can save the money. So yeah, that is the concurrent license, so concurrent session license and named user license. So basically, when you buy a license, you get these flavors. You can choose which flavor you want, named or concurrent. That is with respect to the different types of licenses and how to assign to the roles, teams, and how users can combine these licenses and use it. Next, we will see how to map the SAML identification provider. So in case, so this is little advanced. So in case if you have people who are from networking department or who wants to maintain their own access management system, then for them this is useful. So here you can define authentication and how SAP Analytics Cloud is configured with your custom own identity provider. So by default, SAP authentication happens with SAP Cloud platform or SAP Business Technology platform. But however, in your company, you will have your own identity provider system like Microsoft Azure Active Directory. You can establish a relationship between these two systems. So whenever a user is created here, it will go and check whether the user is already there here. Only if it is available, then it will create the user, and through that they will be able to log in. So the same applies here. So whenever a user is created, it will automatically be created for SAC. So whenever you onboard a new employee, you create a new user ID for him in the SAML identity provider. Then he opens the SAC link. You can enable the dynamic creation. So whatever we have seen was manual creation, but we also have the dynamic creation that is available for only SAML type of user setup. So when you enable the dynamic creation, whenever the user logs into the system, it will automatically create it for him. So as long as his email ID is there in identity provider system. So let me show you how the user management happens. If I think I have it in next slide. Okay. Yeah. So that is how the enable dynamic creation happens. Next, authorization concepts with respect to different folders. I think we already seen a public folder. Then we have different project folders. So you can also have models, also subfolders. Then typically you can define read access. So in case you have project A, and there are 3 teams for project A. So different teams have different kind of operations to be done. For example, project A is the person who does the access management. So project A secure is the teams. Then project A standard is there, who will be doing only the view or read only things. Then project A ad hoc is the team who develops the objects. Then you can assign these 3 teams to kind of this project A. So that is also one way. Then other way is also you can define 3 separate folders for each project team and assign the folder for them. There are multiple ways to design the projects and teams. Yeah, then this one is with respect to the cloud connector, which we have already covered. So in order to combine, importing data and all, you need to use cloud connecting agent. Then yeah, we have seen this also with respect to advanced live connections. So these are the typical administration tasks which are done by only the system admin. So creating the teams, creating the folders, creating the users, then yeah, configuring the on-premise components, then configure the advanced live components. So basically, in case you want to directly configure the iOS mobile app, he also can configure. So this iOS mobile app in turn will be redirecting to SAC, which will redirect to the database and fetch the data and show it. So this is the on-premise landscape, and this is the cloud landscape. So additional to iOS mobile app or Android mobile app, you have also scheduling feature. So what is scheduling feature is in case you have users who are not in SAC, you can send them email. So basically you can send them the story as a PDF through email. So you can schedule the job and it will run and it will send an email to the corresponding recipients and they will be able to see the PDF. This is useful for people who are not in SAC. Then next is the updates. So basically in the technical administration, the users will have the admin concepts. So this is how the system update happens. So if you remember in the initial times, I said there is 2 types of updates happening to SAC. One is quarterly update, other one is fast track. So quarterly update happens every 3 months or every 4 months. Sorry, every 3 months. So that is the quarterly update. Then fast track update happens every 2 weeks. So since this is a cloud software, SAC, every 2 weeks there is new features. So if you see here, this is the 2020-02. Then we have kind of a new wave every 2 weeks. Then additional to that, if you don't want this fast track release cycle, you can have this with 4 months. So wave update happens with respect to 4 months notice. So wave 2020-02, then 2020-08, then next wave 16 or 14, then next wave is 21. So what is the advantage is, in case if you have a large size company and you want the features to be tested and then only kind of delivered to you, then in such cases you can use quarterly release cycle, because there is less disruption to your business, because you have 4 months of period where you don't get any new features. You can run everything, and then once you have the new features, you test it and then deploy it. So in such scenarios, it is always suggested to use this quarterly cycle. So in case of smaller companies who wants the features readily, or who are interested to get the features as and when they are released to the community, so in such scenarios you always go for fast track release cycle. So any doubts here? So basically this is done at the tenant level. So you cannot have, for example, in your company you have SAC development tenant, test tenant, and production tenant. All the 3 tenants should be having this quarterly cycle. You cannot have one tenant at quarterly cycle and another one as fast track, because in that way the systems will be out of sync. So in case if you want to do the content migration to one system to another system, one system will be in 21 version, another system will be in 08 version, and this migration won't be possible. So that is the reason we should either all the systems should be quarterly, or all the systems will be fast track. Yeah, so this typically this is how the landscape will be. You can have a sandbox system, development system, quality system, production system. So you can migrate the content using the content network. Once you create a dashboard, you kind of start it in sandbox, then kind of improve it in development, or you can directly do it in development, then do the testing. Once the testing is finalized, you can move it to the production. So always remember, once you want to migrate the content, it should be as the same version. So for example, development is in 2020-14 version. It will be kind of migrating to content only to the 15 version or 14 version. One version above or one version below are the same version. Beyond that, it won't be possible. For example, your system is in 2020-14, and next development system, next system is in 17. It will not be possible. Migration will not be possible at all. Then we have this monitoring and usage tracking, which I will show you. I think we are already time. So how to monitor the system and everything we'll cover in next topic. So is it clear? The content migration and these updates, when it happens, and the security concepts?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have any hands-on session as such. These are theoretical. But in case if you have any queries, do let me know. We can connect.